So without further ado, I would like to invite our third panelist, who is YB Prof. Emerita Dato Seri, Dr. Sharifah Hapsah, Syed, Hasan, Shahabudin, which is a big pleasure to have you on this panel. And I've just learned that you are one of Malaysia who have broken the glass, what we call the glass ceiling, as you were the first woman to be appointed as the Vice Chancellor of the National University of Malaya, in August 26 to December 2013. So congratulations for that. And later you were appointed as the Academic Advisor of ICANN College for since the 1st February 2022, so very recently. Tan Sri has received also her medical degree from the University of Malaya in 1973. She also served as Deputy Director of Higher Education from 2000 to 2004 and CEO of the State Accreditation Agency, instrumental in drawing up the chapter of the Malaysian Qualification Agency, which took over the role of LAN. She's currently President of the National Council of Women's Organization, NCWO, and has received numerous international recognition, including the Fred Kars Memorial Medal and the Educational Council for Distance Education Award of Excellence. So a big pleasure to have you with us, Tan Sri. And I want to go back to introduce your presentation to what Dr. Zorina was saying at the end of her presentation about the importance of building a network, and that it really takes a whole of society approach. And I think this is one of the lessons from COVID, that development challenges, including changes that faces women, cannot be addressed in isolations, and that we really need to strengthen, to look at the complexity of those issues and the interconnectivity and how we can take a more holistic approach. So I would like to invite you to share your reflections and thoughts on how we can enhancing synergetic collaboration in uplifting the well-being of women. So over to you.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for inviting NCWO to this seminar. Of course, it's a network. I'm asked to focus on uplifting the well-being of women, and to do this by enhancing collaboration. If I can have the next slide, because Yati, you can tap again so that we don't, okay, I don't need to do the animation. So why do we have to do this? Many times we heard today that, it is a heart of the need to grow the economy and to raise the GDP. And the well-being of women is important in increasing the labor force participation and for increasing productivity. And we are all aware what happens to the GDP and income per capita when the gender gap is closed. I may be a bit outdated with this figure, but I think we are pretty close. And although Dr. Zorina has also mentioned all the wonderful programs that the Kementerian or the Ministry of Women is doing in terms of uplifting the well-being of women. Can we go on to the next slide? So I just need to say what is well-being so that we are on the same page. It is a state of feeling good and functioning effectively, which results from dynamics in the environment, either at home, the workplace, or in the community. It is a measurable, multi-dimensional construct. Many domains: spiritual, physical, emotional, career, economic, intellectual, environmental, social. At the end of it, what is important is it is about having equal access to opportunities, resources, and benefits, ability to have resilience, to navigate the natural highs and lows that we experience in life, and while enabling us to flourish intellectually, emotionally, socially, and physically. So it's the experience of positive emotions such as self-esteem, happiness, contentment, development of one's potential, and having some control over one's life in choices and decisions. These are very important. Having a sense of purpose and experiencing positive relationships. So that's well-being, and that's what we all aspire to. Next slide. So as we know, I don't want to dwell too much on the impact of COVID. Previous speakers have done this. Suffice to say that women are affected as patients, workers, and particularly as carers. And the MCO actually has resulted in loss of income, and women have taken on added care functions, particularly during the MCO. And now also post-COVID. And of course, don't forget the long COVID. No? A lot of us are forgetting it. So COVID actually has aggravated existing inequalities. I believe there are 4 areas. Maybe the Kementerian has others, which has been shown previously. The gender gap, removing the gender gap, the gender gap and removing the barriers to economic participation, particularly to alleviate poverty. Getting girls back into schools and universities, because we have dropouts. A big number have dropped out from school and also from the universities. And also developing talents in the education area for the newer careers related to STEM. Eliminating gender-based violence and child abuse, improving enforcement, and I see the Kementerian has started the Squad Wajah. Improving mental health, particularly, you know, due to fatigue, desperation, hopelessness, there's been a lot of mental problems, and increasing the participation in leadership. And also we see decreasing performance in the Global Gender Gap Index. And this is particularly in the area of political leadership and also corporate leadership. And we have to get, as Dr. Zarina said, getting the private sector to be more committed. And also I find in the universities, this is not high, the participation of women as VC, for example. Can we move on to the next slide? So I now come to the first part of my topic, which is enhancing synergistic collaboration. So first, collaboration. That's the act of working jointly together with another person or persons as part of a creative process to produce an output as a response to a common goal or a shared priority. And the output, of course, is always greater than what they could achieve individually. So, examples like a book, manuscript. Okay, I hope you can hear me, right?
Yeah, this is good now.
Okay, all right.
Mute if they don't speak.
Next slide. Synergistic, yes. But now, so synergistic collaboration requires the collaboration part, that act, yeah. This is the interaction of or cooperation or collaboration of 2 or more organizations or other agents as a system to produce a combined effect which should be greater than the sum of their separate effects. So if all of us, government, private sector, CSOs, academia, media, and many others collaborate synergistically to achieve our common goal of uplifting the well-being of women, the effect would be greater accomplishment, higher excellence, that would make a real difference for women. And this synergy is explicitly stated in the 12th Malaysia Plan. So it's a requirement for us to work in synergistic collaboration, of course, in the spirit of an inclusive Keluarga Malaysia. Next slide. So I think that's why this topic was thought of. So how do we make synergistic collaboration work? I can only draw my own experience in NCWO. It is composed of more than 200 women organizations and it's growing. About half are national organizations such as Girl Guides, the political parties, QPACs, and the other half are local or state level women associations, which are organized under the respective State Council of Women's Organizations. By the way, our Perlis Council of Women Organization has taken over the Squad Wajah. They are They are the ones responsible for the squad wajah. Now, they're all registered with the Registrar of Societies. So we are a network of networks. And we are very rich in diversity with regards to ethnicity, beliefs, educational levels, socioeconomic status, ideology. We've got almost all the parties with us. Profession and work, geographic location, and interests. Actually, the interests correspond to the 17 SDGs. So diversity is an asset which we value and mutually respect. And we make use of our diversity to enrich our experience, understanding and perspectives, and collaborate as a system to realize our common vision, mission, and goals. Next slide. So what do we find, what do I think are the elements in a synergistic collaboration? In January 2023, NCWO will reach its 60th year. So apart from valuing diversity, in the 6 decades together, we have developed trust, the most fundamental element in our relationship. Organizations join NCWO on their own volition. We don't go out seeking for members. They join because they believe in our mission and goals, and they have seen what NCWO has delivered. So it is trust that makes us proceed with our collaboration, because we know that we can depend on each other to do what we say we will do. Trust is built with honesty, transparency, and openness in the relationship. There are no hidden agenda, and we don't hide anything. We are always willing to share our resources. We speak our mind. Mutual respect is the way to harvest the richness and strength of diversity. And mutual respect goes with self-awareness and open-mindedness in accepting new ideas and other perspectives which come from the different experiences that we have among our members. And a lot of the time, believe me, we mesh all the different ideas to create new and exciting ones. And that's how you get innovation and novel proposals. Communication has been respectful, concise, and to the point. And it's both physical and virtual. We engage both. Now we do a lot virtually. And we indulge a lot in debates. That's why this respect must be very important. So listening, analyzing, synthesizing, and reporting back so that people are in the loop all the time. That's part of the communication process, and that will put everyone on the same page. And other than that, all the 4 elements that I mentioned, we are guided by our shared values. They shared among all our members: unity, peace, accountability, transparency, justice, respect, empowerment, collaboration, commitment, and integrity. Can we go on to the next slide? Okay, but we have to make some ground rules. And for every activity, at the national level, we do a lot of advocacy. At the ground level, they do a lot of community work. Yeah? Define the purpose clearly and remain focused. Example, we say, we want to write to the PM regarding what we perceive as the lack of gender mainstreaming in RMK 12. Yeah, I think everybody should agree with me. Or write to the Conference of Rulers regarding child marriage. We have a whole list of the things that we do, but we are very clear about that, and we remain focused. And we have a lot of talents. So involve the right people to tap the appropriate expertise for the task and define their roles very clearly. Encourage and keep on reminding about collaborative behavior. They must suppress their ego temporarily at least, and we must always share resources. Most importantly, be evidence-based. We always collect data, we always do research, and we use sound problem-solving and decision-making techniques. and achieve buy-in by being non-confrontational, non-partisan, consultative, advisory, and collaborative. And when we make representations, we do it very diplomatically through the right channels. Sometimes it's meetings, sometimes it's letters, sometimes it's memoranda, and so on. But we never go to the media to air our grievances as the first resort, because we know if we do that, it'll be construed negatively and it will mar the spirit of collaboration. Next slide. Okay, so in a synergistic collaboration as Keluarga Malaysia, what does NCWO bring to the table? Thousands of enthusiastic women of different talents, expertise, disciplines, and experience who are willing to share their know-how and energy voluntarily and creatively. So we give you diversity of ideas and perspectives that will lead to innovative solutions. Expertise in women's rights, gender mainstreaming, empowerment of women, gender equality, which is SDG 5, inclusion, representation, and participation in mainstream life. Expertise in incorporating the gender dimension and use of gender analysis in other SDGs, that is a gender lens. And our work in the SDGs is not only in promoting SDG 5, but across all the SDGs for a balanced development towards economic, environmental, and social sustainability for women and their families. And of course, easy and quick access to our wide and far-reaching networks for disseminating information and also receiving feedback right from the grassroots to the top level. Next slide. Okay, now the results of our synergistic collaboration for the first 50 years have been documented. We have this book. It's a long track record which includes advocating for a national missionary for women, which is now the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development. It started long time ago, from 1962, we've been asking for this. And finally in 2000, we got a ministry. But before that, it was just a secretariat, a unit, then a department in the Prime Minister's office. It included drafting the national policy on women. Just now I heard Dr. Zurina starting her history from year 2009. No. In 1989 itself, after the World Conference, we already put forward a national policy on women, came from NCWO, adopted by NASIWID, modified slightly and became the first women national policy, first national policy on women. And of course, incorporating the word gender for non-discrimination in Article 8.2 of the Federal Constitution. So these are some, I mean, a lot is written in that book. It's a very thick book. Next slide. I would like to humbly put forward.
Dr. Sansri, I'm just mindful of the time, but that's very good.
Yeah, I'm going to end now. I just want to give an example for the collaboration. So what we require actually is a unit that can handle and solve issues very quickly. Action-oriented unit rather than a council that deliberate on policies in the medium and long term, for example. I'm giving an example in SDG 5, actually, lack of quality, affordable, and easily accessible childcare facilities, because this is a main drawback that hampers women from entering and remaining in the workforce. So even though we have a lot of incentives by the government, the participation rate is only 53.5. So a technical working group of multi-sectoral experts and practitioners can easily dissect the issues. It can be in the service side, on the education and training side, and also looking at our policies, laws, regulations, and programs. And there's so many questions about the services and about the training, adequacy of training, and about government. How proactive is the government in encouraging innovations in childcare services, particularly in using digital platforms? Regulatory issues. We can build new childcare centers because of the requirements of the housing and local government ministry, for example. So can I go on to the last slide? Not last slide, second last. Okay, so I suggest the logical location is EPU, which also handles SDGs, have multi-sectoral and multidisciplinary task force for all SDGs. So if then for every specific issues, there can be a TWG and they can do all these things. And but it must be evidence-based and possibly, you know, do benchmarking, literature review, pilots and trials before making the recommendations. So my last slide is, I just want to say that one person can make a difference, or one organization can make a difference. But as a community of millions of women and men, our collective efforts will be transforming for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dato Seri, for really bringing us deeper into the concept of first woman well-being in its multidimensional, you know, how it's a multidimensional construct and how at the end it translates into equal access to opportunities and really make sure every woman can have a sense of purpose and control on the decision in their life. No? Then you've highlighted a number of barriers from women that we've learned, you know, from COVID-19, barriers for economic participation, the challenge of school dropout. I think that's very important, was not mentioned before, and the need to develop talent with STEAM. If we think about the labor market connecting to sexual representation before, how do we make sure that we have as well women and girls going in STEAM and the leaderships? And then you've illustrated with your own organization, the concept of collaboration, what it exactly means to do true collaboration, and how diversity, I really like your box on diversity as an asset. We often see diversity as differences and staying on, but how diversity can actually bring innovation and help creating solutions if we bring the right players around the table to address some of those issues. No? And of course, supporting your last slide, how bringing all our heads together, our technical expertise, we can really address this issue altogether. So thank you very much for this presentation. And I invite, again, participants to raise questions in the chat box. Oh, there is one question here. I have a question directed at Prof. Emerita. No? Using media. Well, I do agree with the majority of the ground rules in your presentation. I would just like some clarification on the use of proper channel and airing grievances using media. Unfortunately, a lot of time the proper channel can be incredibly slow when it comes to responding to concern raised, which is why people resort to media. So can I invite you, Dato Seri, to respond to that question?
Okay. I know I said that if you want to work well with a party, I think whatever problems you have, you should bring it to the attention of that party first. Failing which, if you cannot get any headway, then I think you can resort to other means. But you must first, I think, talk to the party you're working with. That's a step. I didn't say we shouldn't use media or social media, but you must know when to use it. If you always use it first, then you run the risk of being labeled troublemaker, you know, and then they don't want to work with you. I think we must strike a good balance when we're working with others. Know how to present yourself, know when to give your ideas, you know. The communication is very important. I know sometimes we give ideas and they don't listen, but you have given. And after that, you can go public with it. You know, but if we work well synergistically as proposed, we don't need all this, you know, because everybody will be at the table.
If you apply, if everyone wants to collaborate, no, all together.
Yeah, it's a big mindset. It's a leap, you know. It's easier said than done. We have been working with women diversity for a long time, but government is going to do this officially as stated in RMK 12. It's a big mindset change that has to happen, you know. Because traditionally, you know, NGOs have not been have not been brought on board in a very big way. They do, of course, but not officially like in a plan, a 5-year plan.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Tan Sri. Since we are running late on the end of the webinar, we'll have to unfortunately limit the period of questions, but I would still want to invite each of our speakers to give us, looking at all the presentation, what's your key takeaway? What's your highlights in 1 minute, one sentence, or what should we remember after the must remember after this webinar based on the diversity of points and issue raised? Tan Sri?
I suppose I have to go back to my topic. I just want to say that we should capitalize on our diversity, which is a strength, work together to make a huge difference to women, girls, and families.
Thank you.